ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry we got a little late. Somehow. So when a speaker is late, a good speaker takes responsibility. A bad speaker blames the driver. And the worst speaker blames the GPS. So I'll speak today on the theme of destiny. And the theme we'll be discussing is, does destiny leave room for free will and for responsibility? I'll speak based on the Ramayana. And I hope it's visible. Maybe it's there also. Okay, it's visible here. So let's see if we change this. Is this better?
Yes. Yeah, turn the kitchen lights on.
Okay. So we'll be discussing that first of all, are some things destined? We'll discuss that then. And if they are destined, does that mean that the people who are involved, because of whom those things happen, or to whom those things happen, is it that means they have no choice about it at all? Are they not responsible? Can they do nothing about it? And when I travel across the world, I come across many different devotees and different people, and they talk about their different issues. And then I'll try to offer them some counsel, guidance. I also try to see how there are situations that may be similar in our scripture. So, for example, say two people have a conflict. Two people have misunderstanding. It could be within a family, it could be within a community, it could be between two leaders. And then you can see that almost like this thing happened, and this thing happened, that thing happened. And almost things seem to be moving in a way as if it was destiny. And then you can say, was this conflict just unavoidable? Was this confrontation? Was this breakdown just unavoidable? So sometimes when something happens, after that some devotees, some people in general also I've seen, those who say, it was only destined, what can you do about it? So to what extent that when things happen, can we say that they are due to destiny? Okay. So before I start, let me begin with a question. So how many of you have heard of the word destiny before? Okay. Others have not heard of the word destiny? I was giving a class over there, one person sitting right in front didn't raise the hand. I said, have you not heard of the word destiny? He says, it was by the will of destiny, he said. That was fun. But basically, okay, so if you have heard the word destiny, let's begin by, let's share your understanding of what do you think destiny means? Any thoughts? What is destiny?
Pre-programmed life.
Pre-programmed life. It means you are saying that destiny means that our life has been programmed beforehand. Okay. That's a disturbingly precise definition. I will explore it, all of it. Yes, please.
I heard destiny is the height and will is the weight. What?
Okay, it's example. So you could say, okay, so we could say, so destiny, what you're trying to say, it's a good example. Destiny. So you can say that destiny determines our height that we can't change. But then our free will that determines our weight. So that means there are some things we can change and some things we can't change. Mhm. So destiny, what you're saying is, it does leave some room for freedom. So it does not control everything. That's a good example. Yes.
Destiny is that part of our sanchita karma, what is prarabdha, that we are going to work out in this particular life.
Okay. It is a good answer that raises more questions. Okay.
That's
so
my problem.
it's you're saying it's sanchit karma, part of sanchit karma, which is
Prarabdha.
prarabdha. So it raises multiple questions about what is sanchit karma, what is prarabdha. But so basically we have a stockpile of past karma, and out of which the prarabdha is a part. You could put it this way, that we all carry some baggage with us from the past. Mm-hmm. And so some of us have check-in baggage, some of us have carry-on baggage. More or less. But then within that, there is something which comes to us. So the overall baggage is sanchit karma. And something from that which comes out to us in this life, this is the prarabdha. And you are saying this is destiny. I won't go to technicalities, but definitely we'll try to explore this. Anything else? Yes, please.
The amalgamation of endeavor plus divine intervention.
That will be the factor which will determine the result, isn't it? So, how is that destiny or amalgamation of endeavor plus divine intervention? Okay, fair enough. In fact, you could say the word destiny itself has many meanings. One is, say, for example, if somebody is a very talented sports player, maybe somebody is a very talented cricket player, somebody is a talented musician, whatever, music, and then they grow up and say that person, somebody is a talented cricket player and that person gets selected to the Indian cricket team and scores a century or does very well. Then we may say, you have fulfilled your destiny. So there, in that sense, when we use the word fulfill your destiny, that means that destiny can mean that which was potential. And then it became actual. Now, can we say, sometimes we may say some people are wasted talents. They have a lot of talent, but they don't have much discipline. And then they don't really do well in their lives. Then we say, you have so much potential. We may not necessarily use the word you have not fulfilled your destiny, But no, destiny is beckoning you, destiny is calling you. There's so much more you can do, use in that sense. So we were using it in the sense of that which is meant to happen. Okay, so are you using this in the second sense? So when we endeavor, and then there is some set of factors that work together, and then things work out. So that we say that was destiny. Okay. So any other thoughts about destiny?
Reactions to our past deed, whether good or bad.
Reactions to our past deeds. That's karma, isn't it?
Karma.
Okay, we'll come to this. Reactions to past deeds. We'll explore this. Yes, thank you. So now, say, okay, one or two more answers, then we'll move forward.
Predetermined course of events.
Predetermined course of events.
Beyond human control.
Okay, so is it similar to pre-programmed life?
Similar.
So, predetermined course of events.
Which are beyond human control.
Yeah, beyond human control. Good way of putting it. So, it's a good combination of answers. Any last comment anyone has? Any of the Mataji's? Yes, please.
No, I don't know if this fits, but whatever choices we make early will decide our future or
Okay.
destiny. I don't know if that fits.
So, that would be karma, isn't it? So, karma and destiny are somewhat different concepts.
Okay.
So, choices determine results. There is something which comes in destiny here also, and we'll discuss that. There's some role destiny plays in this. We'll talk about it. Yes, please.
So the endeavor and divine intervention, it looks more like endeavor is the free will of the soul, and divine intervention is the free will of the Supreme Soul. Is that a good way to look at it?
Okay, free will of the Supreme Soul. That's a nice way of putting it, yeah. God's will is also free, supremely free. Thank you. So, this is human free will, and this is divine free will. Yes, please.
Something that's not in our control, we might want to be having it or not, but still we have no control over it. We have to, and
Okay.
everybody goes through.
Basically, things beyond our control. So, yes, thank you. These are all very good points. You know, my encounter with this concept of destiny happened right in my childhood. Some of you may notice that I need crutches for walking. So when I was about 1, I was given a polio vaccine. I was living in a small town in India, in the middle of India, in Maharashtra. And there, basically the hospital, the clinic where the vaccine was given, somehow the previous day the electricity had gone off. Because of that, the fridge where the vaccine was supposed to be kept, the fridge power had gone off. And the vaccine, the germs within that increased beyond capacity. So the vaccine ended up giving me the disease. And I have an uncle in America. I don't remember any of this. I was just less than 1 at that time. So when he came to know about this, the first thing he said, you should sue the doctor. But then my father is a very stoic kind of person. My father said, what is the use now? It's already done. It's destiny. So, which was an interesting way of looking at it. But then, my first memory of this is that probably probably I was 2.5, 3 or something like that, where some neighbors had come to our home, and neighbors or relatives, whatever it is, but that part of the memory is fuzzy. But they were consoling my mother, saying that so sad that your son got polio. And I remember my mother's voice, very clear, confident, saying that whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually. So now, probably I was 2.5, 3. I don't know what intellectual science I had shown at that time for my mother to make a statement like that. But somehow, because of that statement, I never identified with my physical side so much. So of course I couldn't play like other kids. But I could study, I could read, I was good at my studies. And my self-identification with my intellectual side became much more. And that's how I was able to move forward. So, the theme that we're going to discuss today, that we are the makers of our destiny. But we are not the masters of our destiny. We are the makers of our destiny. I'll explain what this means as we move forward in the talk. But makers means that our actions do shape the destiny that we are going to have in the future. But we are not the masters. We are not fully in control. So I'll discuss this based on the Ramayana. And then we'll come back to how it applies in practical life. So in the Ramayana, is there any incident that you can think of which plays out almost as if it's the will of destiny? Or some character says, oh, this was the will of destiny, when it starts happening? Mantra. Okay, who says that it is the will of destiny?
Maybe Dashrath?
Dashrath, yes. Mantra is also a part of it. But basically, Dashrath, what happens is, he is cursed. Most of us know that story. I won't go into the great details of it. But Dashrath is a king and he goes out hunting. And while the kings had to be ready to defend their citizens, so they had to hone their skills. And only a certain amount of training can be done with fixed targets. So just like now, if aircraft pilots have to learn, they can learn something. This is an aircraft, fighter airplane is there. You can do some amount of simulation. But you actually need field runs to be able to train effectively. So the kings would train for fighting by going hunting. And there are different things they would try in hunting. So one of the particular skills that Dashrath was trying out at that time was the skill of attacking only by sound, of shooting a target, because it's not necessary that when we are fighting, the enemy will attack from the front. Sometimes the enemy may attack in the dark. So we can't see, so we have to be able to detect by sound. So he was practicing that skill, and he had chosen a desolate lake, a desolate part of a forest where there were practically no human beings in that area. Human beings would not frequent that area, and thought, so whatever comes here would be an animal, and he would shoot that animal. And he was lying concealed, waiting. And then he heard the sound of water being lapped up from the lake. And within a twinkling of an eye, he just took a bow, rose his bow, and placed an arrow and shot. And then when he shot, he could hear the sound of that arrow thudding into flesh. And there was a moment of exultation. Yes, he had hit the target. But that that exultation turned into utter horror when he heard not any animal screaming, but a human sound. He jumped up and ran, and he saw there was just a young boy over there. And then that boy said that, in the last breath he said that I was carrying my blind parents and they were extremely thirsty. So I came searching for water over here. Can you please go and give them the water? So, and saying this, he just left his life. So at that time, this boy what was his name? Shravan Kumar. Yeah. So then Dashrath Maharaj did that. Now, although Dashrath Maharaj was training to sense by sound, but the parents were blind and they could already sense by sound. He said, hey, you are not Shravan. They could sense by the very footsteps, by the very demeanor that they could sense. And he told them what had happened. And they were so aghast. They said that the father was like a sage, and he said that for the king is meant to protect citizens, and you have killed my son who was our only shelter. What is the point? We will not be able to live without him. We are going to die. And with heartbreak, they decided to end their lives. But then before that, he cursed him, saying that for the pain that you have caused, I curse you that you will suffer similar pain, and you will die in separation from your son. Thus, the sage did not say this. Shravan's father did not say it in a mood of anger or vengefulness. It was more in the sense of you need to account for what you have done. So, now this has happened many years ago. And Dashrath Maharaj remembered this much later. Now we wonder if we have killed someone accidentally, how can you possibly forget that? Killing itself is a terrible thing. Killing someone accidentally is a terrible thing. It's still bad. It's terrible. I have friends who are cops. In America, there is a lot of concern about violence by cops, especially if it is unwarranted or if it is targeted against particular communities. But this is that, every person that I have attacked, if I have wounded one of my friends, I still remember the face of that person. That memory is etched within me. In fact, soldiers who go out to fight, often they get PTSD because those memories stay with them. So in this case, Dashrath Maharaj seemed to have forgotten that. Now, of course, he was a king with heavy responsibilities and he had fought many wars, and it had happened many years ago. So sometimes the memory is a mysterious thing. Which details we remember and which details we forget, that's very difficult to say. Yeah?
Maharaj, I'm sorry to interrupt. But Dashrath Maharaj's intent was not that. But if that intent was not that, and his intent was only to train himself, and he had made sure that there is no one else, and even if it happens after that, why would he get cursed for that?
That's a good question. See, the Mahabharata talks about this, and this is general ethical theory, that generally the ethics means the rightness or wrongness of action. Whether action is right or wrong, that is determined by broadly three factors. One is the content of the action, what actually we did. The other is the intent of the action, why we did what we did. And the third is the consequence of the action. And each of these three matters in its own way. And in different situations, different things may be prioritized. Like some actions, now some people operate under the idea that only one of these matters. Is color visible? So this, only this matters, this is called as categorical ethics. So categorical ethics means that this is right and this is wrong. So, for example, speaking lies is bad, speaking truth is good. That's categorical ethics. But then, if there are some rioters coming to target people from a particular community and we have a friend in that community, and then that friend comes running to our house, please help me, please save me. And we let that friend hide in our basement. And those rioters come and knock it out. Is he here? What should we do at that time? Should we speak the truth?
No.
No. Is that so confusing? Is the question so difficult or are you so exhausted? Okay, so, yeah.
I mean, little connected, but this is how.
No, okay, wait a minute. We are making a different comment. So, we should not speak the truth, isn't it? At that time?
No, that's what I was coming to.
Okay.
The truth, if somebody wants to put it in the right, or I don't say the right word, but so a reference to Mahabharata, where it says Ashwathama hataha narova kunjarova. Now what was that?
Okay, so you are making me topic bhrashta now. You're taking me away from the discussion topic, but I don't mind going in there. So anyway, that is one part of it. There's categorical ethics, which is this is right, this is wrong. But there's another kind of ethics which is called as contextual ethics. The contextual ethics means that we can't just decide what is right and wrong based on that particular action itself. We have to look at a bigger context. So what happened before, what happened afterwards? So when, for example, with respect to the particular incident that you're talking about, we'll come to that. So when Dronacharya was told that Ashwatthama has been killed, now that was in one sense a lie. Ashwatthama was alive. But that was spoken to get Drona to stop fighting. Because Dronacharya at that time had become extremely enraged. Dronacharya was the commander, and as the commander, he had promised Duryodhana that I will arrest Yudhishthira, and that's why he had formed the Chakravyuh. And when he had formed the Chakravyuh, he had been not able to get Yudhishthira, but he had got Abhimanyu. That was the 13th day. And the 14th day, Arjuna single-handedly had penetrated through the entire military arrangement and had killed Jayadratha. So now this was not only a devastating defeat for the Kauravas, it was also a disgrace for their commander. And with the entire army, you couldn't defend even one person. Just one person. And Duryodhana had launched a no-holds-barred attack on Drona. And he always had this, that if you are not sincere, if you don't want to fight because you are affectionate with the Pandavas, then please step down. Let Karna become the commander. Karna has promised victory for you. This is unbearably painful for any honorable person. It is one thing to tell them that you are not good enough for this, but to tell that somebody who was way junior, that person is better than you. So Drona had just lost his temper and he started fighting fiercely. And he not only been fighting fiercely at that time, he had started using celestial weapons against ordinary soldiers. And that was such a serious violation of war codes that even the sages had appeared in the sky. And the sages told, Drona, what are you doing? Stop. Desist from such fighting. So it was at that time Krishna said, that the way Drona is fighting today, if you don't stop him, he will destroy our entire army. So the point is, when Drona started using celestial weapons against ordinary people, that is something like, say, in today's war, there are multiple wars going on right now, and there are nuclear weapons available. Fortunately, nobody has used them till now. But against ordinary civilians, somebody starts using weapons of mass destruction. That's a heinous thing to do. So that's what Drona had done. And that's why Krishna said, you have to stop. So basically, now here, things become more complicated. When the plan was made, the plan was never to kill Drona. The plan was primarily to curb Drona. So Arjuna's plan was that Drona will become dejected and he will lower his weapons. And then we will place him under house arrest. Arjuna had never wanted to fight against Bhishma and Drona. Already Bhishma had to kill, he didn't want to do the same with Drona. And the plan seemed to be going accordingly. But then, when Drona lowered his weapon, there was one person who just sprang in. Who was that? Drishtadumna. And Drishtadumna had been fighting against Drona. He just didn't seem to be able to win against Drona. And he was frustrated. So he just raced toward Drona with his throne upraised. And when everybody realized what he was trying to do, on both sides, Arjuna's yelled, Drishtadumna, stop! On the other side, the Kauravas, what are you doing? Stop! But Drishtadumna was blinded by frustration. And he charged forward. And he lopped off the head of Drona. Now later on, after this happened, Duryodhan told Ashwatthama that the Pandavas had planned in cold blood to kill your father. And that is why eventually Ashwatthama said, you killed my father when he was not conscious, I will kill your sons when they are not conscious. Or I'll kill your entire army when they are not conscious. In fact, I will kill you when you are sleeping. He didn't know they were their sons. So he thought, you deserve this. So the thing was that in this case the intent was not bad. If you look at the bigger context, they wanted to end the war. At least they didn't want Drona to do further terrible things and harm their army. But the intent might be good, but sometimes the consequences work out terribly. Now sometimes life happens in a different way. The intent might be bad, but the consequences come out good also. So life is complicated. So in categorical ethics, basically there are two further sections in this. But this terminology is Western, but the principles are really Vedic. One is consequentialist ethics. That means if we look at what is the consequence and then we decide that if this consequence is good, then we should do it. And Krishna also talks about it at times. When he says, for example, that Utsideyu rime loka nakuryat karma chedaham sankarsa chakartasam pahanyamima praja. So Arjuna, if you do not fight, then everybody will follow you. And if people follow your actions, then society will go into disruption. And therefore you should do your duty of fighting. You can look at the consequence. And Krishna does based on the consequence, don't fight. So this is 3:22 to 24. Now, there is also the idea that we should look at the intent. And this is where sometimes we say Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vikyahana Bhujaya. That if somebody is devoted to the Lord, then that means their intention is good. And if their intention is good, even if they do something bad, we shouldn't criticize them. So, this is where the intent, this is some in Western terminology, this is called as virtue ethics. That we look at the virtuous nature of the person doing that action, and therefore we say that that action is not wrong. But life is complicated. The whole Mahabharata is basically a search for understanding what is dharma, what is the right thing to do. And it is not easy. It is complicated. So basically, the Bhagavad Gita's understanding is that we focus until we try to connect ourselves with the Lord and act in a mood of service to Him. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. It's a complicated subject, but the point is that ethical issues are not very easy to resolve. But if you understand that ultimately the Lord has a plan and we are meant to play a part in that plan, then we act accordingly. So what they did at that time, to answer your question, is that was based on the intent. You could say was to deceive, but the intent was also to minimize the damage. But things didn't work out according to plan. So now coming back to your question, that suppose a doctor gives some medication and the medication has some side effects. Well, is the doctor responsible? Well, it depends. If the patient dies, at the very least there has to be an investigation. And the patient dies, and could the doctor have, was it because the patient did not reveal their case history? Was it that the doctor couldn't figure out that there was a complication? So in real life things are complicated. So Dasharatha Maharaj's intention might not have been bad at that time, but that's what happened. So now this raises the question, okay, was that act itself destined? That he should shoot a child and then be cursed by that? Was that destined? Could he have avoided that? Maybe if he had been training, not just the sound of the drinking of the water, or basically if he had been more trained, then when an animal yaps up water and a human being puts a vessel, Charan was not yapping up water like a dog takes from a bowl if you put in front of it. He put a container, was taking out water. The sound is different. Maybe he could or should have noticed that sound difference. So exactly what was the degree of culpability, that can vary. There can be a debate about that. So generally speaking, when some bad things happen, or when some mistakes happen. Mistakes can be because of various causes, and we can't really very precisely determine what was the cause of the mistake. So we have to have a whole different seminar on mistake management. So basically we have to try to become as fit as possible. Fit means that in general, when mistakes happen, they can happen because of our finiteness. We just don't know enough. None of us can know the future. So those mistakes which happen because of finiteness, like a doctor gives a prescription and it has some side effect. So then, now suppose there are no medical papers in which have been published at all. So this is the first time the side effect has come. So we are finite. We don't know what the future is going to be. So what can we do about it? We just have to accept it. Sometimes the mistakes happen because of our ignorance. Then we try to counter our ignorance. Okay, the doctor said, okay, I prescribed this medicine, but there was some paper which is published about this particular side effect in this particular case. I had not read that paper. I was not aware of it. So I should become more well-read. And sometimes mistakes happen because of our thoughtlessness. When we didn't think clearly enough. Hey, I should have thought about this. I didn't think about it, and that's why the mistake happened. So, say we are driving a car and the car slips off the road and there's an accident. Then why did it happen? Maybe my car's tires were worn out. Maybe my car was not serviced properly. I should have thought about servicing. I didn't service it. So life is complicated. Okay? But the point is that Dasharatha Maharaj is cursed. Okay. So, Prabhu, how much time do we have?
You can continue, Prabhu.
No,
As much as
I'm definitely going to continue without your permission. But how much now? So, according to me.
If anybody is hungry, then Prabhu, we can continue till 1. That's okay.
Are you sure? Because we also came late. I don't want to delay this. If you want to serve prasadam, I'm quite okay with that. You can serve prasadam and you can continue talk. You are able to serve prasad here?
Yes, we'll serve there. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, you want to serve there means?
Oh, you want to continue while serving prasadam?
No, so you tell me how you want to go ahead. What was the original timing of the program?
I think the adults can wait until 1 and maybe I can take the kids over there and serve them.
Okay.
Or if how many of
We can take a few minutes break and you can serve the prasadam and you can come back here and you can continue.
are we okay with continuing till 1 and we all honor prasadam at 1? Is that
Yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
See, when you ask a question like that, those who have want to say no can't say.
Kids can come in.
Yeah, maybe kids can be
They
taken.
can ask me, I can serve them there.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
I can something, yeah.
So those of you who are feeling hungry, please don't hesitate anyway. Please, you can go ahead and have the food. Okay. So we have gone off in a little different direction, and I'm not able to cover the whole topic today. But let's focus on what we're discussing right now. So now, later on, when Kaikeyi did everything through mantra's influence, Kaikeyi, and she convinced her that there was a conspiracy. And when that conspiracy happened, or she thought there was a conspiracy, and because of that, she made her own conspiracy. And she had demanded that Ram exile. That Ram be exiled and Bharat be made the king. Dashrath was devastated. How could you even ask for something like this? And he begged her, if you want Bharat to be the king, let him be the king. But don't send Ram away. I want people to live without him. Now Kaikeyi had been coached by Manthara. He said that if Ram is there in the kingdom, Bharat will not accept the kingship. Even if he accepts the kingship, the citizens and the courtiers will not accept it. It's essential that Ram has to be sent out. And that's why Kaikeyi became very cold about it. And Dashrath Maharaj was bound by those words. He was utterly broken. And generally, as parents, we don't want even the slightest pain to come to our children. And if any pain is coming, we want to protect them from that pain. But then if we become the cause of the pain to our children, it just breaks a parent's spirit. And Dashrath Maharaj thought that I am the protector of the entire kingdom. I couldn't protect my own son. I caused pain to my own son. He just lost his will to live at that time. Now, when Kaikeyi insisted on the demand, he said that I'm bound by my word, so I will give this to you. But because you have demanded something that has broken our family apart, he says, I will have nothing to do with you. I reject you as my wife. Kaikeyi was become so cold by that time, she was not affected by that. But then when he was talking with Kaushalya, at that time, he was trying to figure out why did this happen? What did I do wrong? He said, I always treated Kaikeyi kindly. I treated her affectionately. More affectionate than anyone else. Why would she do like this to me? And that's when he remembered the story. When he was Kaushalya, the wife whom he had neglected all this time, she was there at this time to support him, to be with him. And then he told this incident. It had been such an embarrassment for him that he had not told it to anyone. And he said, that curse is now coming true. Kaushalya was horrified. And she heard this. She was distressed. She was horrified. Distressed that all this had happened and she had not been told about it. Horrified at what it meant. And then it meant that Dashrath was going to die. And that is what eventually happened. Dashrath passed away. So now this seems to indicate that curses, you could say the curse was in one way destiny. Because this was supposed to happen. And it happened. So does this mean that Kaikeyi is not responsible? That Mantra is not responsible? What do you think?
They are responsible.
They are responsible. Thank you. So, if you had not given me this, you would be responsible. I got a little cough. Thank you. So the thing is that destiny, even if we say it's going to happen, that may be fixed. But how it is going to happen, that is not always fixed. What do you mean by this? That, see, generally, I'll talk about 3 principles, broadly speaking, and then we'll try to wind up this discussion. The first is, we talk about this general principle of karma. That if there is action, there will be a certain result of that action, there is a certain reaction to that action. And say, if the action is of unit 10, then the result will be also of unit 10. Say if you push someone, they move backward. If you push them forcefully, they fall down. So the magnitude of the action determines the magnitude of the result. That's a general principle. However, real life is complicated. Say if you push someone and say that person is physically handicapped and we don't know that, you just give them a gentle push and they fall. Then what has happened is our action might only be 10, but the result might be 100. And say we push someone and that person is physically handicapped, they fall, and just behind there happens to be a pointed stone and they fall and crack their head on the stone and they get brain hemorrhage. There, our push might be just 10, but the result is 10,000. See it? So now, sometimes this happens. Sometimes a small mistake leads to a catastrophic consequence. And sometimes a big mistake may also lead to no consequence. One devotee told me that he was very tired and he was driving the car, and while driving he fell asleep. And he was going to the temple. He was telling me in a very different way. He told me that I had to go early in the morning for Mangalarti to actually do the Aarti, not attend the Aarti, do the Aarti. So I had come back very late from the program and I was very tired. I woke up and while driving I fell asleep. But then I woke up and I said I was right next to the car, next to the temple. And he said, this is Krishna's mercy. I said, well, it may be Krishna's mercy, but don't expect it to be repeated. Isn't it? If we are so tired, then we should not be driving. We cannot demand. Sometimes what may happen is, the way karma works, is that sometimes our action might be 10 and the result might be 100. On the other hand, sometimes our action might be 100 and the result might be 10. So why does this happen? Because the results of our actions are not determined by our present actions. Basically, there is something from the past that is also contributing to the result. So the present small action plus the past big action, they both combine together to give the result. Like if say we go to supermarket and we have a credit line over there. Each time we go buy things, we don't have to pay anything over there. And one day we go buy a $10 thing, and then when we are going out at the check-in point, we get a bill of $100. I have only $10. No, you have been buying throughout the week, and that's why it's $100. So like that, that's why Gahana Karmano Gati. So the point is that present actions combined with past actions lead to the results. Now sometimes it may also happen that the past actions could contribute in a negative way. Negative means what? That they may basically cancel the results of our present actions. Say for example, now normally we say that if people smoke, they'll end up with liver issues. They will get liver cancer or the liver diseases. That's true. But it's also possible that if some person is young and healthy, some people by their past karma, they have a sickly body. Some people by their past karma have a very robust and healthy body. Now some people, they eat a little bit imbalance in their diet and their just health collapses. Some other people, they treat their tongue like a conveyor belt. They seem to eat anything and everything. And yet, they don't seem to gain weight, they don't seem to lose their health. They seem to be perfectly fine. Yes, maybe fine now. That's because by their past karma, they're meant to have a robust body. But their actions will have consequences. It'll just come later. So basically, sometimes our past karma can act as a multiplier of our present karma. Sometimes it can act as a buffer from our past karma. So Ravan had some past karma by which he did many wrong things. And he didn't get any results. Like we'll say that paap ka ghada bhar gaya hai. That sometimes a person's wrongs, they have to reach a particular point before they come out. That's because a person may have done some good karma from the past. That's what compensates for their negative karma, right? For some time. But eventually, it's going to spill over. So the point here is that just because something is destined, that does not mean that the specific way it will happen is also destined. That it is going to happen is destined. But how it is going to happen is not necessarily destined. So, for example, say somebody by their past karma is to meet with a road accident. Let's assume karma is not that simple, but let's assume it that way. Let's take it this way. Now, if they have trained themselves to drive very carefully, then they might still meet with an accident. Maybe their car's brakes fail or their wheels skid or whatever. But because they have been driving safely, driving at reasonable speed, so even when the car skids off, the accident may not be that terrible. On the other hand, some people, they have what we call as their speed demons. It's almost like they get such a thrill. The thrill of speed can kill at times, So they just drive super fast. One of my friends is an orthopedic surgeon. He was in Mumbai. He was driving his car to the hospital. Then we saw a young boy driving a bike. You know what is that? I saw something with Harley Davidson, something like that. That's bike. So maybe something like that in India. And somehow bikes seem to have something which, as soon as people sit on a bike, it seems that speed demons possess them. There's some kind of thrill you get in driving very fast. So he was zigzag, he was going all the way. And finally a red signal came. And then that young man stopped. And then this devotee pulled his car over next to him and he rolled out the window. And he took out his card. He says, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. You're going to need my services soon. So the idea here is that sometimes, say somebody has been a reckless driver, and then the accident is destined to happen. Then what will happen is the accident will be far worse. So that's why destiny is what is going to happen may be inevitable. But how it is going to happen, how bad is it going to be, in what situation is going to happen, that can vary from person to person. So that's why there is always room for free will. So we could say that Dashrath Maharaj was supposed to die in separation from his father, son. Now it could have happened in some other different way. Just as Vishwamitra had called Dashrath Maharaj, called upon Dashrath Maharaj to give his son so that he could protect his sacrifice. That had happened earlier. Maybe Vishwamitra or some other sage came again and he asked, Ram come. And then at that time Dashrath Maharaj passed away. So it could have happened in any way. So the thing is that the present way we function, that our present actions alone may not be the cause of the reaction, but our present actions do contribute to how the reactions manifest. So say here, 100 reactions are going to come. Now here, if my action is 1, then it will only 91. If my action is 100, it will become 190. So present actions also contribute. So the thing is that we need to, when we are functioning, we need to accept that some things are inevitable. So after something has happened, there is no need to keep beating other people up. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Or ourselves, why did you do that? Now that it has happened, it has happened. After it has happened, accept that is the will of destiny. It's fascinating in the Mahabharata war occurs. Now before that, there is a meeting between Vyasadeva and Dhritarashtra. And then after that, the same meeting happens again. And at this time, Vyasadeva, before is telling him, stop your son from fighting. Stop your son from inciting the Kauravas. So the Pandavas. Give them back the kingdom, otherwise your whole dynasty will be destroyed. And that time, Dhritarashtra tries to play the destiny card. And he says, if it is the will of Almighty Destiny that our dynasty be destroyed, then what can we tiny human beings do? What can I, a tiny human being, do? So at that time Vyasadeva says, O king, it is very difficult to determine what is destiny, what is destined. For us humans, it is for us to determine what is our duty. Contemplate deeply what is your duty in this situation. Now, after the war gets over and the Dhritarashtra is in deep lamentation, Vyasadeva comes and tells Dhritarashtra, do not lament, the war was destined. So here he is saying destiny is unknowable before the war, and after the war he says the war was destined. So what does this mean? Was the war destined or was the war not destined? Well, the exact way Gahana Karmano Gati. See, the point is, none of us know what is our destiny. What we can know is, are we choosing our actions responsibly? The whole purpose of karma is not to get us to just become fixated with what is our destiny. The essential principle of karma, or the essential implication of the principle of karma, is that our actions matter. That our actions matter, and therefore we should choose responsibly. So now, accept that some things are inevitable. And when bad things happen, bad things will happen sometimes. So when something has happened, just accept that it has happened. Now, having done this, so it's interesting that in the Ramayana, when Bharat comes to beg Lord Ram to come back, Lord Ram refuses, then they take his paduka and goes back. At that time, just before Bharat is leaving, Ram pulls Bharat over and he says, don't blame Kaikeyi for this. That whatever happened was the will of destiny. Now it's interesting that Ram says this, but does Kaikeyi, I didn't do anything wrong, it's all destiny. That is not the mood of Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi, the Ramayana, there are songs written about how Kaikeyi laments, what did I do, what possessed me to do something like this. So basically, sometimes our actions may be a part of destiny. But when we are doing it, we are not doing it because it is destiny manifesting. We are doing it, Kaikeyi did it, not because it was destiny. Kaikeyi did it because of her own possessiveness, her own insecurity, her own greed, that her son become the king. So basically, after an action has happened, rather than fixating on what happened and who did this and what happened, just accept that it was destiny. Right? So in that sense, when we accept something that was, this helps us to get some closure. Otherwise, our mind can just be like an auto-repeating reel. Oh, why did he do like this? If only I had done like this. If only this had happened. If only that had happened. And that is not at all constructive. But that is not the only thing. Then C is, I'm going to talk about 3 points, as I said. I'll use the acronym ACT. ACT essentially is the principle of karma. So accept that bad things do happen in life and some bad things may well be destined. Then commit. Commit to doing things, or rather doing those things that will make the situation better, not worse. Just because something is destined doesn't mean everything is destined. Okay, now this has happened. Now what do I do? So when Vyasadeva told the Dhritarashtra that the war was destined, the point was, now get a closure to what has happened. Now look ahead, move forward. Don't blame the Pandavas for what happened. Don't beat yourself up that you did not control Duryodhana. Now move ahead. Now, although it took some time for the Dhritarashtra to accept that, eventually he accepted it, and that is when Vidura came, he was able to receive the instructions from Vidura. So from Kaikeyi's point of view, she did not repeat that action again. She did not, while 14 years Ram was in Vanvas, she did not somehow try to pressure Bharat or allure Bharat. No, now you are king, stay on the king. She was there along with Kaushalya to welcome Ram back when he came back. So she repented what we had done. So, okay, commit to doing, now that this has happened, what can we do to make things better? So, as I said, some things may be destined, but we always have free will. And in this particular situation, what can I do to make things better? So I met one devotee in Florida who had a similar situation. So this devotee's daughter, and she was in a mother's home. The doctors made some mistake, and because of the doctor's mistake, she had a lot of neurological damage, and she was born with severe cerebral palsy and other things. So then at that time, when this happened, he wrote to his spiritual master. He said that, should I accept this as karma and let it go? Or should I sue the hospital? So his spiritual master wrote back and told him that even if you accept that what has happened is karma, for your personal situation, accept that it is karma. But for your future, if you can get some support, from the hospital, then you do whatever is required for that. So karma, the philosophy is karma is meant to help us make peace with the past. It is not meant for passivity about the future. So then he sued and the doctor. There was no denying that the hospital was negligent, and they gave it some fairly good settlement, and he has got, his daughter is taken care of for life now with the insurance or whatever settlement claims. Now when I talked about this with my father said, in India, both of us would have died before a court case came for hearing also. So sometimes we just have to function according to time place circumstances. So commit to do that which will make things better, not worse. So now what that will be will vary from place to place. So when we talk about destiny, what is its purpose? Peace with the past. What has happened, we come to peace with it. It is not passivity about the future. For the future, we have to think that what is the way I can move ahead? What is the best way in which from this situation I am in, how can I move forward from it? And that's why the same Lord Ram, who accepts that this was destined, that Kaikeyi, whatever he did was destined, and he accepts, tells Lakshman to accept that. But that does not mean that when Sita is abducted, he says this is also destined. So there the focus is on not anything bad. Yes, the abduction could be destiny, but when Lord Ram dutifully just quietly went to the forest when he was exiled. But Sita was abducted, Lord Ram didn't say, okay, what can I do? It's destiny. Sita has gone away from me, let her go away. Let us stay away. But he fought a war to get her back. Because that was his duty. So it's important we commit to doing that which will improve the situation. So this brings back to your example point about that say beyond a particular age our height is fixed. We can't change that. So accept that this is my height. But that doesn't mean everything about our body is fixed. We can better manage our weight, we can try to increase our fitness within limits. We try to do that. So commit to doing those things that will make the things better. So that is always a possibility. Destiny does not control everything. Destiny controls some things, but destiny always leaves some room for freedom. And that brings, so the Lord Ram, what does he say when he is going to the forest? He tells the citizens, tells the courtiers, Dashrath is your king, that please, if you want to please me, don't follow me into the forest. If you want to please me, serve the king. Don't hold him responsible for what has happened. He tried to maintain the harmony in the kingdom, in the family. Now that it has happened, don't make things worse. Try to see how we can make things better. Like some people fall sick, and all of us fall sick at different times. Some people will be hospitalized and sick for a long time. Now some people, when they fall sick, they just complain and they grumble and they criticize their caregivers. And what happens is, they make their caregivers sick of them. Now that is something which is entirely avoidable. Okay, you got sickness, that's terrible. But, make peace with it. Okay, because of the destiny, I got the sickness. But what can I do to make things better? And that possibility is always there. And that brings me to the last part. T is transcend. Transcend distress by absorption in the Lord, by spiritual absorption. So at such times when we are going through the difficulty, it does feel unfair. I made only a small mistake and such a big consequence came up. Okay, that's happened. But now that it has happened, I'm doing what I can to fix the situation. But even then, the difficulty is still there. And I can try to improve the situation, but the problem is huge. The problem is like 10,000 and my efforts to fix them are just like 1. So what is even the use of what I'm trying to do? You may feel like that. But at that time, we need bhakti. So, what does spiritual absorption mean? So basically, all of us, if we consider our situation in life, if we are here, we are living in the world, so for us, the world is big and God is small. That yes, God exists. When I was studying practice bhakti, I tried to introduce it to my relatives. So one of my uncles said, yeah, I believe in God. He's happy there, I'm happy here. So the idea is, God seems quite often insignificant. So this is the notion of a seeker, a starter on the spiritual journey. But one who has become a seer, for them what happens? The world becomes small and God becomes bigger. That God is the far bigger reality. The world is important, but God is much more important. Now we may not be seers, but during times of spiritual absorption, we can also get that experience. Say when we do our sadhana, it is not just to meet a particular target of doing a certain number of rounds. It is not to do some rituals. Yes, they are there, but the purpose is during our spiritual practices, whether we are doing some puja, we are coming to satsang, whether we are doing some japa, whether we are reading shastra, the point is, at least for a few moments every day, we need to bring ourselves in the presence of God. We need to get that experience that there is a reality bigger than this reality. Bigger than this reality of what is going through in my life. Now, to the extent we get that experience, to that extent, the problems that we are facing in life, they won't overwhelm us that much. The problems are there. And we'll feel, why is my situation so terrible like this? Yeah, the situation is terrible. But ultimately, everything in this world is temporary and this is small. The bigger reality is that God is present in my life, that God is with me, and I can connect with Him. So that, in Sita, Lakshman, Ram, they're in the forest, that is the time when they bond with each other even more closely. They're always close to each other, but now they have no royal responsibilities, no social distractions. They come closer to each other. And of course, Lord Ram is playing another Leela. He's God himself. He's playing another Leela, but he's God. So for us, when we are a destiny put in situations which are limiting, that is a time when instead of just letting our consciousness be caught in, why is the situation like this? Why is this person like this? Why is this job like this? Why is my health like this? Yes, that is there. And we do try to do what we can to fix it. But we don't, while we are trying to fix a situation, we don't want to fix our consciousness in that situation. Because that is when what happens is, we want to fix a situation to whatever capacity we can. That is important. But we don't want to fix our consciousness within that situation. Because if our consciousness becomes fixed in that situation, then there's a big problem that comes up. That problem is that, whatever we fix our mind on, that thing starts becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger in our mind. So fix the situation, yes, to whatever extent possible. Fix our consciousness, no. If we consider this a problem, some problem we are facing. Now we want to be Krishna conscious. That is what we want. We don't want to be problem conscious. Sometimes we become so problem conscious that we forget to be Krishna conscious. But now what it is that as a part of our Krishna consciousness, we can also be problem conscious. That this particular problem is there and I have to solve it. But the problem consciousness should not fill our consciousness. Or rather, let's put it this way, that if this whole thing is my consciousness, this is my consciousness, then this is Krishna. So Krishna needs to be a bigger presence in our consciousness than the problem. And that way the problem won't affect us, the problem won't torment us so much. So when my mother said that whatever he lacks physically, God will provide him intellectually. Now for most of the years of my life, or at least for the first 20, 21 years, 22 years, I focused on the intellectual part. And I identified myself with the intellectual part. But when I introduced Prabhupada and his books into devotees, then I started thinking, God has provided. God will provide intellectually. So that God consciousness that came. And then Krishna's mercy, whatever intelligence I have, I'm trying to use it in Krishna's service. But the focus was that my mother gave me the foundation that don't be so problem conscious. We focus on doing what we can to make things better. And then if you have Krishna consciousness, then it becomes much more easy to pass through that difficult phase. So for us, destiny may always be there. But that does not mean that there is no scope for free will for us. There is scope for free will, and especially if you connect with Krishna, then that scope becomes even more. Because we can connect with a bigger reality and thereby go beyond the situations. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. So, destiny and free will, that was the topic we were discussing today. Does destiny leave scope for free will? And we discussed in the beginning various definitions of destiny. But the first key point that we discussed in terms of when things happen, destiny can mean what is meant to happen or what has the potential to happen. So we discussed how when we do a particular action, it's like our present action, and then there is a present result. Now the present result doesn't come from the present action alone. It comes from a combination of present action plus past action. So now, destiny, when we use the word destiny, it can refer to this, it can also refer to this. It depends on what context we're using it. That we have a baggage of karma from the past, that is destined. That's why the theme we discuss is that destiny is fixed, but how it unfolds, unfolding of destiny, that is not fixed. And then in that connection, we discussed about mistakes. So when we discuss about ethics, what are three factors in ethics? There is action, or there's the content of the action. Then you remember the things? Intent of the action, and then there is the consequence of the action. In ethics we discussed two categories. There is categorical, and then there is contextual. Contextual means look at all three things. Everything contextual. There is virtue ethics, and there is consequentialist ethics. So basically the point is, what is the right thing to do is often very difficult to determine. But the key point is that when mistakes happen, we need to look at the cause of the mistakes could be what? Does anyone remember the acronym? Finiteness, ignorance, and then thoughtlessness. So basically, when we discuss solution, so how we deal with destiny, what are 3 things in it? ACT, I discussed that one. So act A was what? So to deal with destiny, accept that some bad things may happen. Accept that bad things happen. Now sometimes we may not be able to determine the cause. So this accept is broadly collectible with the financials. We don't know in advance what baggage we are carrying. We don't know in advance what consequence will come from each action. So accept that bad things do happen. And C was? Commit. So commit to what? Commit to making things better, not worse. Do the things, to choose those actions by which we can make things better. So this is for coming to peace with the past. But we don't want to be, when commit is that ensures that we are not become passive about the future. We don't become passive about the future because we are committing to doing that which we can make things better. And the T was? So commit is basically to counter ignorance. Okay, what was it that I did wrong? How can I fix it? T was? Transcend. So transcend by divine absorption. So when we transcend, what happens by that is that the present becomes bearable. Because if my only consciousness is, oh, this terrible situation has come on me, it's so unfair, then we will just become problem conscious. But when we understand that there is a higher reality and that is there within us, so then Krishna becomes the bigger presence in our consciousness and the problem becomes a smaller presence. And in that way, we can have a healthy attitude towards past, present and future by properly understanding this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Want to make any quick comments? Thank you so much. Ramachandra Bhagwan ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Tadau Pramana.